Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the kickoff of America's Veterans Day. Now, we're going to test your concentration skills. All these sounds in the background are just to make sure that you can concentrate. So I want to welcome all veterans and patriots, students and teachers, and the guests and the leaders of National Veterans Day, and anybody else who's here to visit this monument that was placed here in the late 1980s to the gentleman who's called the father of Veterans Day, Raymond Weeks. He started a national movement in 1947 to celebrate veterans and to do our best as a country to perpetuate world peace. And so it's for that reason that we come back together and we start this program prior to Veterans Day, because we want to lift up the leadership and service that a group of Alabamians did for the country. And we call it Patriotism in Action. So my name is David Dyson. I'm serving Patriotism in Action as well as historian for National Veterans Day. Thank you, Mr. President, for my job. And briefly this evening, we're going to have a posting of colors, a prayer, tell you a few basic points that we want you to remember about why we're here, because we've got a request for you, and that is to tell one other person about what we do here tonight. So we'll have more veterans, teachers, and students across the country who know that everything that has been founded here. Then we'll introduce you to the riderless horse, lay wreaths, play taps, have announcements, and then we'll adjourn, and probably all in only 20 to 30 minutes. So if we do that, Bob, would that be a good day? All right. First, before we begin, I'd like to introduce the leaders of this event who helped put this together, and I'm going to call their names. Just ask that they raise their hands so you know them, and perhaps you might want to know who they are or speak to them a little later. From Patriotism in Action, we've got Colonel and Mrs. Bob Bearfield. All right, thank you very much. From National Veterans Day, we have Mark Ryan, the president, and Major General David Burford. He's the vice president. Blue Star Salute Foundation, the president, Mr. Tom Long. Thank you, sir. The family of Raymond Weeks is right here in front. Again, there's their father or grandfather or great-grandfather started America's Veterans Day. Bama Bill, thank you for the music and the sound system. And for those of you, please make sure that you take a program home and pay attention to the list of contributors who have made this event possible. All right. The posting of colors is a tradition at patriotic events in America. So the posting of colors will be done tonight by Mr. Gabe Evans from the American Village. Bill? Are we back? All right, thank you. Our prayer will be led tonight by United States Navy veteran and the chaplain of the Alabama Department of the American Legion, our good friend, Duke Martin.
Please pray with me, if you will. Holy Father, today as we assemble here in this place of honor, we begin in humble silence, knowing that we're standing on what is truly hallowed ground. For tonight, without the dream, the belief, and the continuing efforts of one man, we would not be here at this special memorial for Raymond Weeks. He was our patriot, our brother, and truly the father of our Veterans Day. Tonight, Holy Father, we thank you for him and for the honor of all veterans and for the single honor he has created for the city of Birmingham. We would ask that you continue to bless the efforts of the Bearfields, of Bamaville, and Dr. Dyson, and all the others that have worked so hard as we proceed with this special tribute for our founder and truly our veteran, Raymond Weeks. Holy Father, be with our hands tonight in what we do, be with our voices in what we speak, be with our minds in what we think, be with our hearts in what we feel. Work in us, through us, and for us, in spite of us, as we thank you in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much. Folks, I'm going to ask that you pay attention. Moms and dads, this gives you a chance to practice what you preach when you're telling your children to pay attention, because we've got a request for you. Our goal is that we get word to all the veterans, the national veteran organizations and all the veterans, plus the teachers and the students across the state and nation, to know that Veterans Day started here. And the fact is that less than 5% of Americans know the who, where, and when of America's Veterans Day. So I'm going to share with you 7 quick points, and hopefully you can remember at least one of them to pass on to somebody the next day or two. All right. Folks, this is the 72nd anniversary of America's Veterans Day that started here in Birmingham in 1947. It's also the 7th anniversary that the United States Senate passed a resolution giving confirmation or renewing the history that America's Veterans Day started here. Now, here's the facts. Number one, when World War II ended in 1945, thousands had that idea for a Veterans Day, but it was Raymond Weeks and other Alabamians who took patriotism to another level and had action. They went to see General Eisenhower along with United States Senator John Sparkman, and they presented a folder that looked like your program tonight that said National Veterans Day 1947, slated for November 11. All right, Eisenhower supported, and when the next year, in 47, the first National Veterans Day was held here. As it turned out, Eisenhower could not make the trips, but he recruited General Omar Bradley to come speak at what was called the World Peace Banquet. Were you there, Barbara? You were there, all right. Eisenhower sent a telegram to Mr. Weeks and all the folks of Birmingham and Alabama on the 11th day of the 11th hour in the 11th month, and the idea was, he said, I hope that what you're doing in Birmingham will spread across the country. See, he was asking for a national movement, and it started in Birmingham, and it took 7 years for it to become fulfilled. And when it did, President Eisenhower, after he was elected, signed it into law. Now, that was 1954. That year, Mr. Weeks and Birmingham started the National Veteran Award, and that will be presented tonight with the honoree being the former United States Senator and Attorney General Jeff Sessions, I believe that's right, Mark? Okay, and this is significant about what happened in 1982. You see, in 2000, after 9/11, we got involved with this, and I found out along the way that Veterans Day started less than 5 miles from where I went to high school. And I was excited and upset at the same time because I'd never learned that. So we decided in 2012, at the urging of some veterans who said that only 1% of the people know this, so will you help us? And I thought it was going to be easy, going to the state superintendent of education, the governor's office, and a few others to try to get proclamations and get this taught in schools. But we got resistance because it said officially, as of 2003, that the Congress had said that it started in a different state, and nobody knew anything about it. So the terrible news ended up being great news because it forced us to go to the United States Senate and prove that Raymond Weeks, Birmingham, and Alabama were in fact the leaders of the national movement that ended up being Veterans Day. So one of the things that we were able to show to them was a video that most of them had not seen from the White House, because in 1982, Elizabeth Dole, some of you remember her, briefed the president, President Reagan, on this recommendation that a guy named Raymond Weeks receive the Presidential Citizens Medal. And in her briefing, she referred to him as the father of Veterans Day, along with the recommendation. Well, that was accepted, and when the medal was presented at the White House, it was on national television. From those of you who were in Vietnam, you'll appreciate this. It was the week of the dedication of the Vietnam Memorial. And the speech, as I recall, was done on November 11, and there were only 3 people on the stage: Raymond Weeks, his wife Jennifer Weeks, and the president. And in the front row, we had Barbara and her sister Brenda were sitting there as proud daughters. But I remember from the video that you could see on our website, there's a little clip there where President Reagan basically said 2 or 3 key points. One, the person who started Veterans Day is Raymond Weeks of Birmingham, Alabama. They referred to him as the driving force for America's holiday. And third, I thought it was touching, he said, your country is mighty proud of what you've done. So when we showed that video to the Senate, it gave a great confirmation. A few years later, after 40 years of service to Veterans Day, Mr. Weeks died. This monument was placed here by a grateful nation, and I mentioned number 7, there's a key point. In 2012, the United States Senate approved a resolution. Now, we started at the beginning of that year, and right about Veterans Day, our honoree tonight, Mark, this is significant. In 1954, when the first award was given, it was given to the congressman who wrote the legislation to get Eisenhower to sign it. Well, the honoree tonight is the gentleman who led our proposal through the United States Senate to restore and to give the official recognition to Birmingham, National Veterans Day Birmingham, that it started here. So we're appreciative of Mr. Sessions for doing that. But he called, and that was a great bit of excitement there. All right. Thanks for listening. Now, the Weeks kids are going to be testing you on, did you get at least one thing that you can pass on to somebody else? All right. Thank you, girls, for holding this banner. This banner was done in 2012 with the help of the Goodrich Foundation, and the Weeks family carries it in the parade. So that's, if you see, we'll hopefully see them at the parade doing that. Can you lift it up just for a second? Yay. National Veterans Day, founded in Birmingham. Yay. Thank you all for doing that. Do we have any horse lovers in the crowd? Woo! All right. Will you turn your attention to the riderless horse behind me? Now, there's a neat backstory for this. That horse's name is Kip. And Kip has been here before. Kip was down here in this park to help us out on November the 10th a few years ago, and he was in the parade. But he and his handler were so stunning and motivating. There was an artist there who took a photograph of Kip and the handler in the parade, and then became moved and did a painting of that scene. And later she found Bob and Nancy Bearfield, and to Patriotism in Action donated the painting that she had so lovingly created. It's beautiful. Well, then Bob and Nancy, on behalf of Patriotism in Action, donated it through a ceremony at the Alabama National Cemetery. So it's significant. And so, how many of you have ever seen a riderless horse in a parade or something? How about the funeral of a commander-in-chief, U.S. president? I've seen it on TV, and the first other time that I saw it was at Arlington National Cemetery when General Dunn, our departed friend Colonel Dunn's father, received it. And just so you know, kids, at the rank of colonel and above, full military honors funerals are given at Arlington National Cemetery. And this tradition, and Colonel Bearfield can tell you, he's a horseman from Kentucky, that this tradition is a military tradition that goes all the way back to the Roman and the Greek empires, even to the Mongolian Empire with Genghis Khan. The basic idea here is that the boots are put in the stirrups backwards to signify that this warrior will never ride again. So thank you for Kip, and I wanted to also thank Carissa and George Van Court for bringing Kip. Kip used to be a neighbor of mine, and so now I'm glad to see him again. I want to also thank the Birmingham Mounted Police, Officers Carmondi and Grayson, for being down here and protecting us and showing their beautiful horses. All right. Kip, is that good? All right, well, here we go. Now, if you would, we're going to have a few brief wreath dedications. We have a short memorial service. In honor and on behalf of Mr. Jeff Sessions, our National Veteran Award honoree, Mr. Bob Horton, who's this, a change? Forgive me.
National Senior Vice Commander, Donald Day, New York, Disabled American Veterans.
Outstanding. We were hoping that he could make it. Let me see if I can do that right. Senior Vice Commander, National of the DAV, Disabled American Veterans, Mr. Donald Day, is here, and he is going to present the National Veterans Day wreath at the monument to Mr. Weeks. And he's escorted by Tom Long with the Blue Star Salute Foundation. Sir, thank you very much for coming. The wreath from the Blue Star Salute Foundation will be placed by Mr. Bill Oxford, who is the National Commander of the American Legion. And he's escorted by Major General David Burford, who also serves as Vice President of National Veterans Day. Sir, thank you. The Patriotism in Action wreath is almost always placed by Barbara Weeks Minor, daughter of Raymond Weeks, escorted by Colonel Bob and Nancy Bearfield. And when Barbara turns around, I want you to notice the pin that she's wearing. It's the Presidential Citizens Medal presented to her dad by President Reagan. Thank you, Barbara. Next, please let us think about the significance of the wreaths that have been placed and all others connected to that as we hear taps played by Jim Quakenbush of American Bugles across America. Thank you, Jim, and happy birthday to you and the Marine Corps. All right, Colonel Bearfield, have we accomplished our mission tonight? All right, now I'd like to invite Mark Ryan, the President of National Veterans Day. He will close out our program with announcements that would be of value to you regarding our holiday. Mark, thank you.
Yes, they will be of value to you for this holiday. Thank you, David. I think everybody probably knows that we're going to have a parade tomorrow. Everybody from last year didn't understand it's rain or shine. This year it's shine. So I am assured it is shine. But just to tell you again, we've had a change from our previous route. You know, it usually used to come through here, but because of the construction on the interstate system, we've had to move it to the south side. The reviewing stand is at the Parkside entrance to Regions Field. That's our local baseball team park where they play. It's a beautiful setting over there. That's where the reviewing stand will be. But it will be down 3rd Avenue South, down to 14th Street, and back between Railroad Park and Regions Field. So I invite everybody and encourage everybody to not only show up, but bring your whole family out. This is a special time of year. We take 1 day of the year to honor our veterans, which is a shame, really. We honor them every day, really. But we need to have a huge crowd show up and show these veterans how much they mean to us. Thank you all for being here.
Mark, is there anything about the shuttles or anything you want to tell them? Is there anything?
We do not have shuttles this year because we're doing away with elections.
Anything? Does anybody have a question about the reception of the banquet, or is everybody okay?
Prayer and breakfast?
Thank you, General. One thing, and regretfully, we did do away with the World Peace Luncheon that we normally have on the morning, or mid-morning, I should say, of November the 11th. It was just, had gotten to where we didn't have enough people attending, and it just wasn't cost-effective to continue that. It broke my heart to do it, but and because of that, we will not be running shuttle buses like we did last year from the luncheon over there, because there is no luncheon, okay? But anyway, hopefully we'll be, well, I say hopefully, we're going to check it out. But when they get through with the interstate construction, we're going to reevaluate our whole parade map and everything and see what we want to do to, whatever is best, that's what we're going to do. So thank you all again.
All right, one closing point. If anybody is interested in any of the advocacy that we had tonight and you want to contribute, I would in helping us tell people, remember, this is pretty easy. National Veterans Day Founding Education.us. That's a website. National Veterans Day Founding Education. So if you'd go and spend a minute or two, this is the most complete website in the United States for veterans organizations, teachers, and civic clubs to use. You'll see a picture of that banner. You'll see a picture of the book that the only one in the country that tells the story about how it started here. And you'll see pot sample handouts for classes and to teach them, as well as a little in-class assignments. It's intended to be a resource. So if you want to help us with this mission, to help teachers and students across Alabama and America know that, please go take a look, give me a call, and we'll see what we can do to help. Any other announcements, Colonel? We appreciate you being here. Happy Veterans Day, and we'll see you next year.